So as we begin this discussion about the Tangi School Board's proposed modifications to its current desegregation order, I just want to begin by saying thank you. Thank you for playing this video, continuing to be a part of the public discussion regarding this plan. Thank you for your input, your comments, your questions, your concerns. It has been vital and extremely helpful. The level of community engagement that we have had on this question for the last 3 years. It has been out of that discussion that we have been able to come up with this proposed plan. Literally hundreds of hours of meetings with stakeholders and community members, teachers, principals. So many have played an important role. And by watching this video, you are continuing that role. I would invite you that as you watch this video, pull up the DSEG plan on the school board's website, study it, send us your comments and your questions either through that site or send them directly to me at my email address, brettkduncan@me.com. Of course, you can also engage us on Facebook, where we've had many very healthy and helpful discussions about the plan. However, I will tell you that although we're going to go through this plan, it is not intended, nor could it be, a comprehensive explanation of everything involved in this plan. So I think that after you go through all of this, you're still probably going to have some questions. And if you do, I want you to feel free to call me, to email me. At the end of the video, I will give you my cell phone number, and I would ask you to leave me a message and let me know what questions you have and how I can contact you to answer those questions. So what we'll do in this video is we'll briefly go through the question of why we are still bothering with a desegregation order after 60 years. We'll refresh our memory on what the board is currently ordered to do and why we are requesting modifications to the current order. And then we'll go through each part of the plan, broken down by the northern section of the parish, the central section of the parish, and the southern section of the parish. Again, I hope that this is helpful to you, and we'll get started. We first deal with this question of why are we bothering to formulate a desegregation plan at all? Why not just leave well enough alone? And there are many who ask that question in this parish. And to them, I would simply point to the images that you see on your screen. One, a recent quote from Nelson Taylor, "Because I can." I point this out to you simply to demonstrate that as long as we stay under this federal desegregation order, meaning as long as we fail to do whatever it takes to reach unitary status and be released from federal court supervision, we are subjected to this type of comment and this type of attitude from the plaintiff's side. I believe that after 60 years, it is high time to allow our local leaders and our parents and our community to take back control from the federal court and from plaintiffs' attorneys, take back control of our local schools. The next image you see is a very large number, $4,749,794.57. That is the amount of dollars that we have spent litigating this case, the amount of dollars that have gone to lawyers and other professionals litigating this case rather than to the education of our children. We cannot put an end to that number's continued growth until we as a community commit to ending this case. The next two images obviously, are of children. One young child from 1981 who was subjected to a desegregation order and thus had to go from being a kindergartner at Midway to a first grader at Mooney Avenue to a fourth grader at Hammond East Side to a fifth grader at Hammond West Side, finally to a seventh and eighth grader at Hammond Junior High, and then on to Hammond High School, with all of those multiple moves and instability being the result of an ongoing desegregation case. And now, 32 years later, he stands with his two young children who are now kindergartner and first graders, who are still subjected to the instability of a desegregation case. I would submit to you that no other generations of this parish should be subjected to that. And the only way that we can stop that is by doing whatever it takes to finally put this case to bed. If you'd like a more complete and unbiased history of Tangipahoa's desegregation case, I would encourage you to visit the Tulane University's Cohen Institute. There you will find a complete case history along with a timeline. You can even review some history on some of the other cases in Louisiana. The link is here on the page, or you can just Google Tangi, Deseg, Tulane, and Cohen University. Okay, now that we know why we are here, meaning to finally end a 60-year-old desegregation suit, and we've taken a moment to refresh our memory on the journey that we have been through over the last 60 years, let's just finally refresh our memory on what we are currently ordered to do as a parish to reach unitary status, or to get that order from the federal court that says that we are no longer subject to its supervision. The current order, crafted back in 2008, requires us to build 5 new buildings or new schools throughout the parish. One would be built in the western part of Ponchatoula and the southern part of Hammond. The other would be built in the southern part of the current Laranja district and the northern section of the Hammond district. And another, third elementary school would be built on the northern portion of Laranja and the eastern portion of Amite. We are also currently ordered to build a $21 million career education center that would be centrally located in the parish. And then finally, there was a 5th school that was ordered that we don't really hear about, but it is in the order. It's a Natalbany Area Early Learning Center. Now, of course, when the order was done back in 2008 or 2009, the estimated cost of each one of these buildings was somewhere between $10 and $20 million. However, we just finished building O.W. Dillon on the north end of the parish, and that cost came in at a little over $14 million. So in today's dollars, we really don't know how much it would cost to buy all of the necessary property for these buildings and then do the construction. Now, because each of these buildings would have their own attendance zones, there was also an order that included rezoning throughout the parish to accommodate these new schools and also to accommodate the demand that we desegregate. So Laranja, for example, was shrunk considerably, down by almost 1,000 students, with the balance of those students being moved either to Hammond or to Amite. Also, Ponchatoula was considerably smaller because of the new school that was being built on its eastern wing. which left just really the central portion of Ponchatoula that was going to remain in its current school configuration, because we do have Champ Cooper over to the eastern portion. There was also an order that we spend $141 million on new construction at all of the other buildings throughout the parish, which of course required us to raise taxes to do all of this construction. And because we cannot actually fully implement the order until all of this construction is done, it would require us to have at least 6 more years of court supervision, 2 years to do all of the construction, and then of course after we do the implementation, we have to demonstrate that we have 3 years worth of good faith compliance with the court's order. So after years of studying this and meeting with various members of the community and months and months of efforts to build consensus, the board believes that it has come up with a better plan to both improve the quality of education in our system and comply with the court's order to desegregate. And here we pause just for a moment to point out that this is not called a perfect plan. It is merely called a better plan. We all realize that many of us would have liked to have done things differently in this plan. Many of us believe that there may have been other ways to address various issues throughout the parish. But again, this was an exercise in attempting to reach a consensus, attempting to have a broad level of support for a plan, while at the same time improving our public schools and complying with the court's order to desegregate our schools so that we could end this case once and for all. Okay, so here we take a look at some of the primary goals that we hope to accomplish through this proposed plan. Number one, we want to accelerate compliance with the court's order. We want to get this case over as quickly and as effectively as we can. So we believe that we can implement this plan starting next school year because we are reducing cost and roadblocks for compliance. We don't have to wait on any sort of taxes to pass. We don't have to wait to build any new schools. We don't have to wait to build anything. This is something that we can implement now. We also believe that we can improve the projected long-term impact of the student assignment plan. Specifically, under the current order, we are only projected to desegregate schools such that only 37% of the students in our parish are projected to be in a desegregated school under the current order. Under this proposed plan, we project that over 50% of the students in our school system will be in a desegregated school using our existing buildings, and we also project that another 15 to 20% of the student population will be in schools that are very close to being desegregated. We also want to improve and expand educational options for our students. We have some magnet programs or themed schools that have been very successful. We have others that have not been very successful. We want to evaluate the ones that have not been successful and see what types of things we can do to improve the likelihood of success at those schools. We also want to make our already attractive schools available to more students rather than less students. We want to have community buy-in for a plan. The current plan does not have community buy-in, but we believe that through this plan we can quickly demonstrate that having desegregated schools and schools that have multiple themes and options, as well as a system that allows expansive choice throughout the parish, that we can get community buy-in for this plan and for having an integrated school system. We also want to address the fact that The current state of our parish's school system has resulted in tremendous teacher burnout, a high turnover ratio, administrative staff that has been burnt out as well. And the board understands that this is partly due to the instability that's in our system as a result of being under a desegregation order, but is also the result of having high concentrations of at-risk students at certain schools. We believe that if we can reduce those concentrations, that we will, number one, be able to better address the needs of our high-risk students or at-risk students. But number two, we will better set up our administrators and teachers for success and therefore reduce the high levels of teacher burnout and teacher turnover. Okay, so how do we accomplish those goals? Number one, we remove the requirement to build any new schools or to do any new construction prior to being able to implement or start the 3-year good faith period. By doing this, we also remove the requirement to collect any new taxes. We've studied this and we've demonstrated that we already have enough existing capacity in our current schools to do what we need to do to both improve the quality of education, improve options, and desegregate our schools. Number two, we examine our current magnet programs. The ones that are working, we want to further improve and make them even more available throughout the parish. The ones that are not working, we want to evaluate those and see what we can do to make them more effective. The key part of this plan is voluntary desegregation. We want to allow folks to voluntarily go to the schools that best fit their family's needs. So to do that, we have to have attractive schools in addition to the schools that are already attractive now. One of the key things that we do in this plan is add a program called STEM. STEM is the new kind of hot theme throughout the country. It's also a theme or a program that has a lot of grant funding that is available. And so that's one that we believe that we can add at some of these schools, and we can do it without adding a lot of cost to the taxpayers because we can get some outside funding. We also expand school choice options. The way that we do that primarily is by taking our existing campuses and making many of them pre-K through 8 schools rather than just 1 or 2 grades per campus. By doing this, we are adding more options that are available for our families to choose from. We get rid of all of those redrawn maps that are in the current order and replace them with what we are calling home zones or zones of initial assignment. But the really neat thing about these home zones is although you may be initially assigned to one particular school, we're going to make multiple schools available to our families based on those home zones. But you will be able to have almost a buffet of schools to choose from. And we'll talk about that some more later. We do not change very much at all the current M-to-M transfer because, again, that's a way that we can make more schools available to more families. So, a few other additional key components. We want to remove the requirement to do all of that construction at all of the various schools. It's not to say that we may not want to do some additional improvements on our campuses, but we don't believe that any of those improvements should be a condition for us getting out of this case or achieving unitary status. We will remain committed to diversifying our school faculty. However, we will, I believe, continue to also demand that we hire the best and most qualified teacher for each and every classroom, regardless of race. We want to expand career certification options, and we believe that we can do this rather than through building a $21 million career education center. We have some excellent career colleges here, right here in our parish, as well as Southeastern, and we are going to do some cooperative endeavor agreements with those institutions so that we can do dual enrollment and career education. We want to maintain our current accelerated programs parish-wide. That was something that we did recently, expanding our accelerated classes so that they're offered at all of our K through 8 schools. We will commit to a specific quick implementation plan upon approval of the court, where we have a specific strategy and timeline to provide the buildings, technology, personnel, and resources to timely and effectively implement this modified plan. We also believe that it's important that regardless of where these at-risk or high-risk students attend schools, we need to have certain interventions in place for those students to include behavior and mental health services. We are currently doing this through a cooperative endeavor agreement, and we believe, but it's only at a few campuses where those students are particularly concentrated. We are hopeful that we can expand these services so that they are made available to students no matter where they attend school. We have also included in our request to modify the current desegregation order a request that we not involuntarily move any child from a high school that they are currently attending high school. So if we were able to implement this plan next school year, if you are a 9th grader at, say, Laranja High, and this plan requires you, based on your new home zone, to have to choose a school other than Laranja High, we're going to request that the court allow you to stay at Laranja High and complete your high school term if that's what you wish to do. The same would be true for any student currently at Ponchatoula or Hammond, and so on. I will tell you that this does not affect very many students throughout the parish. There are not very many people at all that are involuntarily removed from a high school, but for that handful of students that it does affect, we felt like this was an important request. Finally, our current desegregation order requires us to take students from outside of the parish if that student will help to desegregate a particular school. We believe that this has placed an undue burden on us as a parish in trying to comply with the desegregation order. It's made compliance more difficult, and so we're going to ask that the court remove that as a provision in our current desegregation order. So here we just review kind of the 3 geographical transportation zones. Again, we have a northern transportation zone, a central transportation zone, and a southern transportation zone. And the way to look at this is almost as a menu of choices that are available to you if you live in each of these transportation zones. You'll have a menu based on what schools we will provide transportation to you for. But then, of course, we do not limit you to the other schools throughout the parish if you wanted to provide your own transportation. So here in the northern transportation zone, you will receive an initial assignment based on your home zone. But if you desire to transfer to any of these other schools that are also in the northern transportation zone, and if your transfer will further the cause of desegregation, then we will provide that transportation to you. So this northern zone includes the schools up in Kentwood, configured as you see here, also the schools in Sumner, and the schools in Amite. We also have the Roseland Montessori Magnet School, which will be a pure magnet school, and we can discuss that a little bit more as we get further in. Okay, and here are the schools that will be located in the central transportation zone, and you will notice here that throughout each of these transportation zones, we try to offer the same types of schools to the extent that we can. So again, you'll see a repeat of what you saw in the Northern Transportation Zone, communication magnets that are available, a STEM academy that's available, as well as kind of your traditional schools. Of particular note here, we do bring all of the independent schools to a pre-K to 8 configuration, which again allows us to have more options that are available to you as a family by having those various by having that configuration. Also of note, I think the folks in Tickfall will particularly appreciate NESM going back to its traditional configuration of a pre-K to 8 model. And finally, on the southern end of the parish, you will see obviously a little bit more extensive menu, but again, that's primarily because over half of the total students in our school system are here in this southern transportation zone area. And again, though, you will see mostly the same various opportunities, being Montessori, communications, STEM, with the one addition or unique addition here in this area being the IB schools, the International Baccalaureate schools, over at Hammond High and Hammond Eastside Magnets. I will note here too, though, that Ponchatoula, although the schools in Ponchatoula remain within their current configuration, the families that actually live in the Ponchatoula home zone will have the most options out of any other families throughout the parish, because if you live in those Ponchatoula home zones and you are a white family, you have the option to transfer to either stay in those current Ponchatoula schools or the Champ Cooper School, but you have the option to transfer to any of the other schools in the Hammond area, all of which are pre-K to 8 schools, and each having their own theme and or magnet program. So really, no other family again gets to have near as much of a choice than those folks over in Ponchatoula. All right, so digging in a little bit deeper here, we'll look specifically at the Kentwood district. Here, just a reminder that currently we have the Performing Arts Magnet Program up in Kentwood. That magnet program is one that has not been very successful as a magnet, let's say, per se, or an effort to voluntarily draw white families back into that school. So we've looked at some other options. This is one of those where we're going to try to introduce STEM both at the O.W. Dillon campus, which is that new campus that's been just completed, and at the high school magnet. In addition to STEM, though, we are going to leave the ballet and jazz program at the Kentwood High campus. And we did have a few kind of career education courses that have been made available there, specifically welding and I believe some construction type courses. And we're going to leave those in place as well, as long as we have students that are interested in those. We do have the data down on the bottom of the slide. And again, we're noting here that just because you might initially be assigned to this particular home zone, you would also be offered the opportunity to transfer to either Sumner or to the various magnet programs that are going to be added over in the AMET district. And again, just to emphasize, you are not limited to where the board would be offering transportation. So you would be offered transportation to the Sumner or AMET districts if you took a transfer to those campuses, but you also do have the option to transfer to any of the other qualifying campuses throughout the parish, as long as you're willing to handle your own transportation. All right, so here we take a look at our Sumner district. And of course, you know, Sumner is one of those districts that is already a very attractive school district. We don't have to do much to Sumner in order to draw folks to these campuses. We have our data look here. You know, we're very close actually to Sumner already being considered a desegregated district. We'll continue to allow M-to-M transfers into Sumner, and we believe that along with the slight adjustment to its zone, that adjustment specifically being that portion that you see that goes along I-12 now, that was not previously part of the Sumner district, but its continued attractiveness and that slight adjustment to the home zone, we believe will get us well within what is considered desegregated. Now, just a quick look at the Springfield Elementary home zone. You'll notice it's running on the northern end. The state line is its boundary. On the western end is the river. The state line, or the parish line rather, on the eastern end, and then the southern boundary running initially off of Highway 1057, then dropping down to Highway 440. And here you have the Chesborough Elementary home zone. This is the home zone where we did add a few students along that I-55 corridor, and but pretty much other than that, it's very similar to the configuration that we currently have for this particular school. All right, now I'm taking a look at the A-Meet district. This is one of the districts that I feel like we did some of the most exciting aspects of this modified plan. First, taking a look at the Roseland Montessori Magnet program, you'll notice that there is no specific zone for Roseland. In fact, no student is initially assigned to the Roseland Montessori Magnet. For this school, every student will have to apply to get in. They will have to meet certain minimum criteria to get into this school. And in addition, if once they're admitted to the school, if for some reason they break any honor code, or a parent fails to be adequately involved in the school's program, then they would not be able to remain at this school. So this is a really exciting aspect of the program, and one that was brought to us by local school board representative Ann Smith as an idea. The Roseland will have to maintain a 50-50 ratio, so for every black student that is admitted, we would have to admit a white student as well, as long as we are under the desegregation order. Here we also add, you know, we currently have I think a very attractive communications magnet at A-Meet Elementary. However, the students, once they completed A-Meet Elementary, did not have an additional communications magnet that they could go to. So we are proposing adding that program to A-Meet Middle School, currently called A-Meet West Side. And so then that program will take them through to the 8th grade. And then we add also 2 magnet programs at A-Meet High School, which currently does not offer any magnet programs. We're proposing adding a medical magnet there, where you could actually graduate with a certified nursing assistance certification. And then also we felt like it made a whole lot more sense to have the performing arts magnet at A-Meet rather than at Kentwood, because as we know, A-Meet already has a very just very nice auditorium there. So that's what we propose adding over at the A-Meet High School. Again, all of these programs will be made available to any student in the parish that wishes to transfer to those schools, provided that their transfer furthers the cause of desegregation. Um, and of course, we would offer transportation to any transferring student from either the Kentwood or Sumner district. Okay, so here we take a look at the Laranja district. Now, I would just remind you that under the current plan, the Laranja district would look much different. The current order, if I can bring your attention down to the portion of the slide that says data for district, the current order brings Laranja's school population down to 1,267 students. This is a school district that currently has almost 2,000 students in it. And the way that the current order does that is it takes off the southern end of the district and sends those students to that new Hammond school that they are proposing to build. And it also takes a portion of students off of the northern end, moving those students up into that new school in Amite. Here, well, backing up just a second, the reason that Laranja takes such a bad hit under the current order is because it is the whitest school district in the parish. You'll see that currently, we only have 18% of the student population as black. And of course, before we started this process in 2007, meaning before the M2M started moving towards Laranja, the district was even more white. And the thought by the plaintiffs and the court at the time was that the only way to deal with that was through making the school district smaller. Here, we're able to resolve that question by bringing some black students in to the Laranja district from the Natalbany area. This is something that school board member Sandra Simmons and her committee had actually proposed as an alternative way back in 2007. So we do that here, and by bringing those students in, we project that we can get the Laranja district up to almost 30%. It's actually 29.5%, but almost 30% of the population would be black, with 70% remaining white, and we can make the district bigger rather than smaller. Personally, I think this is a much better alternative than the current plan because Laranja is a school district, a very attractive school district, and we ought to make Laranja's excellent schools available to more students rather than less. All right, so here we're looking at the Independence District. And again, this is a district where I think we do some pretty exciting things, reminding you that Independence is going to be paired up with Laranja. And of course, folks will be able to transfer to each of the various districts or the various schools within the district, and we do that by we're making more options available to all of those students by reconfiguring the schools in Independence. Currently we have a communications magnet, but it's only available to the middle school children in Independence. We propose here that that current communications magnet be reconfigured to a pre-K to 8 school, and then we take the current elementary campus and make that the STEM school for this particular transportation zone. We then offer a community school or a traditional type educational environment at the Neeson campus as a pre-K to 8, and then we're going to offer that STEM education that like I said, that I think a very exciting enhancement over at the high school, and we will continue to offer some welding and machinist career programs as well over at Independence. This machinist program I think is a really neat program to add here because we know that machinist job, that there are somewhere in the neighborhood of over 200 open or unfilled machinist jobs right here in this area that where folks need to be getting trained for those jobs. So we're going to prepare students for that. All right, we'll look a little bit closer quickly at the Independence Zone. Okay, so this is that home zone for the communications magnet. That's the school that is going to be housed at the current middle school campus. And just to kind of orient you to this map, what you're looking at on the right side, or the eastern side of the map, that is the railroad track. That is the boundary. Then you'll see up the middle is Highway 55 or Interstate 55. And then, of course, the Parish line over there to your left. On the southern end, that is Highway 40. So that's just a quick look at the home zone for the communications magnet. All right, and then just quickly, this is the home zone, or the zone of initial assignment for the Independence STEM Leadership Academy. Again, a new pre-K to 8 configuration, going to be housed at the current Independence Elementary School. And just to kind of orient you here, you're looking at on the right side of your screen, that's the river that operates as the eastern boundary, the railroad track there, kind of at the top of this backwards L shape, and then Highway 40 over there on the top of the lower portion of this backwards L shape. And then you'll see that the southern end of that boundary is a line that's been drawn slightly south of 1063, but north of Highway 442. All right, and then finally the Neeson Preparatory School, again going back to its old traditional configuration of a pre-K to 8 school, mostly centralized around the Tickfall area and kind of around that 442 corridor. And that's pretty much it. You have the river over there again on the operating as the eastern boundary, and then we do have it take up a little bit of that Woodhaven Road. That's the road that brings it down towards the south a bit, so that we can reach the school's capacity. All right, so here we take a global look at the new Hammond district. Now, this map that you're looking at here, this would be the new Hammond High School zone. And just again to orient you briefly, you'll look at the southern border of the zone will now be a nice clean line along I-12. So if you live north of I-12, you will be in the new Hammond zone, and if you live south of I-12, you will be in the Ponchatoula zone, which also includes Champ Cooper on the eastern edge. Hammond High will remain, it will keep all of its current magnet programs, so that would be the new International Baccalaureate program, the Medical Magnet program, its ProStart program. All of those programs will remain in place, as they've been very effective and have made the school very attractive. The new thing that will happen here in Hammond is that all of the elementary schools, or all of the other campuses within this zone, will now be all pre-K to 8, with the exception of the Natalbany schools, which together will be pre-K to 8, but they will have a slightly different configuration, and we'll look at that a little bit further down the line here. So if you live either in Ponchatoula or in Hammond, you will have a true buffet of sorts, because we'll have the IB program as an option, along with performing arts over at the Eastside campus. You'll have the communications magnet over at the Woodland Park campus. You'll have the Montessori program at Westside. Of course, lab school remains in this zone, and then there's a traditional school option at the two Natalbany-based campuses. All of those menu of options would of course also be available to anyone living in the Ponchatoula zone that wanted to get transportation to transfer into these other schools. And then of course again, anyone else in the parish that wanted to provide their own transportation would also have the option to transfer into these schools. Now, if it appears that a particular emphasis was placed on improving the attractiveness of the Hammond schools, I will tell you that that is true, and there was a valid reason for that. We need to note that Hammond has a very large white middle class community that does not take advantage of the public schools there and has not for quite some time because the schools have not been attractive to that community. So there was a particular effort made to try and make these schools as attractive as we can to that community so that we can voluntarily draw those folks back to our schools. We felt this was particularly important, not just in Hammond, but throughout, but in Hammond particularly because Hammond is the primary tax base that funds the vast majority of our school system in the parish. And so if we ever want to convince this primary tax base that our school system is worthy of having additional funding, then we needed to provide that community with schools that were at least an option to them. Now, you'll see here we project that with these improvements, we believe that we can get the Hammond School District to a 50-50 school district, and we're not very far from that. You know, we have had some tremendous success in this school system through these themes and enhancements and these choice options. We have had success drawing the white community back to Hammond's schools, and we feel like we can enhance that and further accomplish that. All right, so here looking quickly at the Midway Natalbany home zone. So here if you live in this zone, you would be initially assigned over at Midway, which would have a new pre-K to 3 configuration. Midway has had a very successful student improvement grant over the last few years, and we're hoping to continue all of those enhancements over at Midway. And then Natalbany, Midway would then feed over to Natalbany, which would be a 4th through 8th grade configuration. Natalbany has the student and teacher advancement program there that has had some success, and we would continue to have that program at Natalbany. Just to try to orient you a little bit to this map, you'll see that I-55 and Highway 51 runs through the center of this map. Over to the western side, that road that is drawn out, that's that Woodhaven, and then Wardline Road is the southern edge of the boundary. All right, now looking at the new Greenville Park STEM Leadership Academy. This school would be housed at the current Hammond Junior High campus. We would bring in that new exciting STEM education program for this campus. We would also continue to have TAP there, and a very neat extended day or after school program would also be offered here. So this would be the only campus in the parish. If you were to choose it as an option for your family, you would actually have a after school program that would keep your child on campus through roughly 5 o'clock so that you could come and get them after the school day. The school would also have a certain special honor code that would be required of all of its students, and we are hopeful that with all of these enhancements we can voluntarily desegregate this campus. This is a campus where we have had for quite some time a lot of unused capacity. The campus can house as many as 900 students, but only currently has actually a little less than 500. If the current desegregation order were to go through, the projections are that this campus would actually drop down to as low as 300 students. So we're very hopeful that with this plan, we can build the student population of this campus back up to at least 676 students, as much as 900 students. We can better desegregate the campus and make it a much more attractive school for the folks in our community. Very quickly, just to orient you again on this map, the southern boundary is the I-12 line. The northern boundary is the line right north of where Whitmore Acres ends in Hammond. The western boundary, or the boundary there to your left, is Highway 51. And the eastern boundary is mostly North Oak Street, but then where North Oak Street kind of runs to the left of Whitmore, we go ahead and draw Whitmore into this boundary. So that area around the campus is very much a part of this district, along with the Greenville Park neighborhood and then Whitmore Acres. All right, so here we're looking at Hammond Montessori. Over the last few years, since implementing the Montessori program at Hammond Westside, it has been very successful in voluntarily desegregating that campus. We have many, over, I believe somewhere in the neighborhood of 200 magnet transfers that have come back to that campus. So the Montessori method has been successful. We're going to continue that here. We're going to make the campus even more attractive by extending it on through the 8th grade. And then we're going to try to integrate visual arts into its program, and of course continue our teacher and student advancement program that has been implemented there. Just looking at the map very quickly, again, southern end is that I-12 corridor. The northern end is Wardline Road. Highway 51 is your boundary there to the right, and then the Parish line is your boundary over there to the left. All right, now just quickly looking at Woodland Park Communications Magnet. Again, this is a program that has been successful. It's been attractive over at Woodland Park, this communications program. It's a high technology program. Almost every student on this campus is provided with an iPad. Every classroom has a smart board. Again, lots and lots of technology that's been added to this campus through a SIG grant. In addition to the communications magnet, we have also sought funding to bring elements of the STEM program to this campus. And we also have our teacher and student advancement program that is offered on this campus. We want to make this campus even more attractive, again, by offering it as a pre-K to 8 campus. It's currently only pre-KK, but the campus actually can house older students. It's divided up into wings, and there is a wing that is suited for older students, and then a wing that is suited for younger students. The campus would be a nice kind of a small campus. It would be one of the smaller campuses in the Hammond area. So if you're a family that really likes smaller schools, this would be a school that you would be attracted to. Just looking at the zone here, this is central or kind of downtown Hammond. The zone would be a very close-knit Hammond community, and I think that's about it as far as this particular campus. All right, then finally, just to look at the Hammond Eastside Magnet Program. This is a school that is currently seeking certification as an International Baccalaureate school. That designation will hopefully be granted by the end of this school year. It also has performing and visual arts program and that teacher and student advancement program. This campus is actually probably one of the most attractive schools that we have in the district. It has seen incredible improvement and has for the last few years ended up with a waiting list of students and families that have been attempting to transfer into this campus. With this new home zone, we are hoping to create additional capacity so that we can accept more transfer students, but my guess is that for many, many years to come, this is going to be a very, very difficult campus to get transfers into if you don't actually live in this particular zone. All right, and finally a quick look at our Ponchatoula and Champ Cooper district. Again, this district, of course, did not need very much by way of efforts to improve its attractiveness. It is already probably one of the most attractive districts in our parish. We wasn't much we needed to do here. The only thing that we did need to do was to at least make some legitimate attempt to increase its black population, primarily because it's a very, very large district. It's the largest district in the parish, and the court simply would not accept us not bringing this district within court compliance. And of course, court compliance means that we have to bring it to at least a 35% black ratio. What we did was, again, make that nice clean line on the northern boundary of I-12. This does zone in a few more black students from around that I-55 corridor. It zones out only about 83 white students that end up in that very attractive Hammond Eastside district. And by doing that, along with the hope that our M2Ms will be successful, we are able to bring the black population right at that minimum requirement of 35%. We do believe that we'll stay within the current capacity of the school district. We had our administration look at it, and the capacity of these schools is around 6,060 students. If the M2M transfers were to continue at the current rate, the student population would increase to 6,100 students. So we may have to add a few additional buildings here and there to address that capacity concern. But not, again, not a whole lot required to accomplish what we need to accomplish in Ponchatoula. It's already a very, very attractive school district, a very successful school district. All we needed to do is to kind of get that population ratio where we need it to. Again, the hope is that some folks in Ponchatoula will find some of the schools that in Hammond attractive and will voluntarily transfer there. That has already happened to some extent. I believe we're somewhere around 200 students from Ponchatoula are currently transferring to some of the programs in the Hammond area. We're hoping that with the new grade configurations and enhancements that we're going to add through this plan, that even more of those students will voluntarily transfer to the Hammond area. But of course, we're not going to force anyone to do that. This slide just shows you the home zone for the Ponchatoula schools. Of course, the grade configurations. Again, no major changes here. None were really necessary. I-12 is your northern boundary. This parish line is your southern boundary, and the river on the eastern edge is your eastern boundary. And finally, our last home zone, this is your Champ Cooper home zone. Champ Cooper remains a pre-K to 8 school. Again, one of those schools that's already very, very attractive, very successful. Don't need to do a whole lot to make this school more attractive. However, it is a school that for quite some time now has been overcrowded and over capacity. So we do make some adjustments here. We do ask that the students that actually live closer to Hammond Eastside attend the Hammond Eastside School. So your new northern boundary is I-12. All of the other boundaries remain the same. The parish line to your east and south will be the boundaries, and the river over to your west. All right, and so that completes the presentation of our better plan for Tangi Parish Schools. I hope that you've found this video helpful. I hope that it has addressed some of your questions and concerns. However, again, I acknowledge that it is not a comprehensive explanation. You may have some additional questions or concerns that you'd like for us to address. As promised, here on the slide you'll see my cell phone number. I invite you to call me, leave me your messages, your questions, your concerns. Also, again, reach out to me on Facebook or email me at those locations as we provided earlier in the video. Again, I hope that this was a helpful video. I hope that you will agree that although this is not a perfect plan, it is better than the various alternatives. Certainly better than doing nothing and remaining under federal court supervision, and vastly better than what we are currently ordered to do. Again, thank you for listening, and please let us know what you think about the plan.